Happy Friday. We made it to the end of the week. Yes, Lincoln. Huh? Yeah, he sat down. So let's see if he knocks my tripod again if he gets up this time. We have a Tea Pigs Rooibos Creme Caramel. 2 tea bags. They don't make them strong enough. It's funny, in the South African brands, they're sold in sets of 2. I tended to rip them up, like separate them, and I remember my husband first time, he was like, no, they go together. This is a stronger tea. Oh yeah, anyway, it's delicious with 2 tea bags if you haven't tried. Today's a funny one. Not funny, but just I think we're at this precipice or this point, this turning point online, and I think people are realizing that as much as you can put on a persona or a brand or a facade, when it comes to building a personal brand, we're humans. And I don't know where we have completely eradicated or felt the need to eradicate reminding ourselves that we all feel the range of human emotions. And as you go through this journey and as you build and as you grow, your capacity just starts to get bigger. So I've always visioned it, especially, coming from looking at how I experienced my emotions in childhood. And I think I spoke before about one of my mum's old business partners that just absolutely annoyed the shit out of me whenever I was saying I was tired in high school. Or, yeah, and he'd very quickly say, oh, you don't know what tired is. And it's like, okay, thanks. Maybe not to your level, but my level of feeling very tired is at my 10. And your level of feeling very tired is at your 10. Now, just because your 10 sits about here and my 10 sits here, doesn't mean in my experience I'm not experiencing that emotion to its highest capacity. And I think as you go through life, there are things that naturally start to extend that capacity, going through hardship, going through loss, going through grief, going through, and we all experience these things at different times. But what I have noticed is, obviously, again, we're in this light and dark. With the good comes the bad, with the joy comes the sad, with the, we have that duality. And as you reach to more depths of grief or depression or that side of the spectrum, you also find you can create access on the other side, because with great sorrow comes great joy. And I think it's this, I don't know when, again, at what point we expected everybody to just have this pristine, I mean, look, it's social media, it's curated, right? In terms of an art form, you're feeling like you're putting on your best self forward, or you're putting this, or you're, showing the bits that are motivating or inspiring for others, and the unsexy stuff isn't. We've been marketed at that for a very, very, very long time, and I finally feel like we're backtracking a little bit, but it's no wonder that a lot more people don't knock it. Dude, you're not going to stand right there the whole time. Come on. I've got my cards in the way. Silly Billy. Where was I going with that? That was it. It's this looking polished, or this, I don't know, it's hard because you don't want to lead with always having your heart on your sleeve. And I remember it was Daniel Mumba from Time to Build. He's still the community manager with Tom Noski. He runs that side of the business. And one of the things that I loved that he shared in one of our workshops with creating content was about sharing your scars, not your wounds. But then that also starts to put people on this like pedestal level of I'm only sharing everything that I've learned, and I'm not reminding everybody or even myself sometimes that I don't know everything, even though you know that. But having to put on this front of I'm a coach or I'm a creator or I'm this, or and it's like that veil of certainty that people are looking for. And yes, like I don't believe you should be coaching people on things that you've not attempted or done yourself. You know, call them crazy. But it sort of spirals out of the things that you've been doing, like learning to break down your story or come up with ideas or how to creatively turn that into something that people might want as an offer. Like it's an art form, I think. I think that's where also so many people have this fear. Well, not fear, but it turns into a performance because you start to put yourself online. And this is where I really do enjoy this practice, and I feel like more people are enjoying getting into this practice. And I guess it does take the longer route and the longer reps to get comfortable with this, but I think having that disconnect between who you actually are versus who you portray online actually does more damage to a personal brand than anything else. Like having the ability to stand in your humanness and stand in your shit and remind yourself that we are all humans and we are very good at feeling alone in our collective feelings and emotions and experiences. I saw this lovely gentleman, artist online. It came up in my explore feed. Bless, he was talking to the camera. He'd got his beautiful paintings in the background. He just said, look, it's coming to the last hour of my studio open day and no one's showed up. And he's like, it's hard as a artist to put yourself out there, but he even sort of caught himself realizing that it's like, I want to, share my art with the world, but I'm also a very introverted person and I don't want to talk to people. So, promotion doesn't come naturally, but so it's that push and pull. But even him videoing that and posting it is part of the process. And even just reading some of the comments, like more and more artists, I even commented underneath as well. I was like, so many of us feel this way. It's like we have our passions, we have our excitements, we have our things, but we also don't want anybody to ruin it, because it's that, what we'd said, I think I put it in my other email about what Jordan Peterson said about making things beautiful. It's your taste. You're putting your taste on display. And when you put your taste on display, it is subjective. Some people will like it, some people won't. And I don't know, is it back again still from the school conditioning of the needing to get A's and present it properly, otherwise you fail? And like I'm just trying to uncover where we get so stuck. And I guess I've also just watched Shoshana Raven so gracefully and beautifully, write about this. She recently got invited into a 7-8 figure women's mentorship group, like a closed group. And apparently one of the ladies had an issue with her being in the group, which my first thinking was whoever the lady is that had the issue with her being in the group, she should technically be the one that should be kicked out, not Shoshana. And just watching her post about it and, show that she was upset and fucking devastated and that she is human. And of course it hurts when you suddenly realize that no matter what level you're playing this game at, you've still got Mean Girls and you've still got that you can't sit with us vibe when, like, ideally at that point, surely you should understand that there is no competition between each other because it's more abundant than that. I don't know, like if you've been making it to 7-8 figure businesses and building at that level, it's amazing how people can still be so petty. But again, that's that human side, no? Then it's clearly it wasn't the right group for her. And luckily, luckily she's done so much of her own being brave and living brave and shame slaying and all of this stuff, but you know, she's never negated the fact that these things will arise again. You know, just because you feel like you've been brave once doesn't mean you're never gonna have to be brave again. Like, this is a constant pick up and go. Like, your baseline operation level is just different. And, you know, with those ebbs and flows and with those sadness comes that awareness that you can pull yourself back up and reach those higher states of joy, because you can see that you're just so much more aware when you're living in it, how much is helping you through the path, and that like every no isn't a direct attack, and knowing that it's a redirection for something greater. Again, when one door closes, another door opens. Sometimes the doors will stay closed for a while before you start seeing a few open, but yeah, when did we just forget that we were all human beings, you know? Being a bit kinder to each other, like realizing that these coaches and these gurus and these people online, like, they don't know fucking everything. They've just been brave enough to figure it out enough for themselves that they've got themselves to a point where they can share what they know. If that resonates with you, great. If it doesn't, fuck off. Like, I am so happy that there seems to be more of this trend now of bigger creators shitting on people who are shitting on them. Because this is where we've almost like tolerated a reverse in behavior. It's almost like the whole customer is always right got far too out of hand, you know, and at no point did the business owner step in and be like, fuck off, I don't need your business. I would rather have somebody else than deal with shitty clients. And I remember the first time my mind was like, you can fire your clients? Yes. You don't just have to accept people if they're being shits. It's the same as employees. Like, if you hire somebody, just because you've gone through the process of hiring somebody, that's the whole point of probation periods. If they don't fit or they're not a good hire, get rid of them. I remember I heard Gary Vee say that: hire fast, fire fast. Like, obviously that's not always the best, but it's the fact that if you've made the wrong decision, don't just sit in it and try and drag it through the mud. Like, just cut your losses and go, okay, not that one. We'll find somebody else. We'll find somebody else. Make sure that your training and your onboarding is good. Make sure that you're taking care of your staff. Make sure that you're, like, is it because everything's now being charged? Like, everything comes with a fee that we just assume that we take? I don't know. But this spectrum of emotions thing, I think it's very easy to self-select. And that was even something that she'd said I'm part of her month for the Obsessed Challenge. So I've been listening to the audios and stuff, and she'd said something the other day as well. It's like, everybody wants transformation, but nobody wants the work required. And it's that you don't get to pick and choose your emotions in this journey. You don't get to have the joy without the suck if you haven't built through that. Like, shame and fear, and like, it is through. You go through. You don't get to numb yourself to the top. Well, I'm sure some people can. But you know what I mean. Nuance, please, while you're listening to these. Engage brain. You listen. I want I want ideas flowing. I want people to understand there's so much more to this than meets the eye, and this binary, like, one person, one thing, one solution, and once it's fixed, it'll be fixed forever. And it's like, no. Phases, cycles. It'll morph into something. It'll turn into something else. It'll maybe even shut down or completely self-destruct from the inside out. I don't know, and you go again. But it's this weird, Yeah, like I've never, I wonder if that's maybe why I've even stepped back from this coaching side of stuff, and where I'm starting to find my feet with this now, where I also remind myself, it's like, say what is true, teach what you've done, teach what you know, teach what you've actually experienced, and you can't be wrong, because if you've experienced it in your direct experience and you're packaging that up and helping others with that through line, then you are qualified. But going 2, 3 steps ahead, thinking that you can teach something when you haven't implemented it, or I think this is where it goes wrong. And then this is where it feels like coaches or mentors or people, they, not all of them, but it's almost like, where does the ego start to kick in and override the service part? Because and I have said this, and I'll say it again, like, I've never wanted to be the bottleneck of my clients. And that's something I was acutely aware of at the beginning. It's like, I have some absolutely incredible clients, some fucking badass people that have done some insane shit in this world. And they come to me for advice on their content and their stories and their ideas. Like, I mean, I love it, because that's what I do, like the professional brainstorming side of things. Like, let's come up with a wacky angle. Let's go test it. Let's go battle test it. Let's go try. But I've never sat there and said, I'll make you your one-time offer and it'll just print money forever. It's like, no, there's still the trial and error that goes into it. I think it's because, for me, it's always been that sneaking thing where I've realized it's not the curriculum, it's always the person. It's not the curriculum, it is always the person. I realized this straight off the bat when I did my personal training qualification. I couldn't believe that fucking multiple choice NASM course that I did. Failed the first time, remembered most of the questions that I was dubious on, went back straight, looked through the textbooks, reminded myself of those, went back the following day, took the test, and then passed. And I was like, now I'm qualified? It's like, yeah, in theory. But now practice? Now taking another human being through these processes? Holy moly. I think that's why the fitness industry is so humbling. And I think that's why I have a soft spot for people who are so passionate in the fitness industry, that have built their thing, done their stuff, regardless of what anybody else is doing or saying or thinking, because it is so difficult to stand your ground in something like that when there is so much information out there. But to get to the root of what is actually going to provide positive action for others, and again, those frameworks that will work, because there are certain rules that we abide by. At least with fitness, you've got the skeletal, you've got the frame, you've got the body, you've got the inputs, the outputs. Same as what I've been saying with these ladies with this process of weight loss: calories in, calories out. You put yourself in a slight deficit, you move a little bit more, you will start losing weight. That's the work. You can't say you want to build muscle and then not eat enough to actually put on the muscle to grow your body. You can't say you want to lose weight and then overeat and then wonder why the scale's not moving. That becomes very much a lot more binary, I guess, or a lot easier to say, the math isn't mathing. Make the math, and then the results come in. And then when we're working with, personal brands and these offers, so much more of it becomes emotional. But I think when you can remove yourself from the emotion, it again becomes quite simple. What do you do? Who do you help? Who do you serve? How do you do it? Where can they pay? We've really overcomplicated it. And I don't know why people spit the dummy when they hear the simple solutions. Create the thing, do the landing page. Are you sending it to someone? Do people know that you've got something that you're offering? Have you even thought about what you're offering? Is it clear? Does the person who needs this know to put their hand up? I had one of my founding members send me an offer she's helping create for a client of hers through the bots. And it was nice. Like, it was good to read through it, but there was not enough detail in it. She'd even said, like, I saw the background story. This woman has a massive reputation. She's got, a Rolodex of stuff. She's just not moved it online. And the document, even reading through it, I was like, even if you're sending this to warm leads, even if you're saying that there would be details on a call, even if you're saying this, it's like there's still not enough information to actually even make me go yes or no. Like, there was a little bit of who it was for, but then it was a 5-week thing. There was no price. There was no kind of picture being built of what would happen through that 5 weeks together, what you come out the other side with or feeling, where you start, where you go, like, nothing. And so I was giving her that feedback, and she said that was really useful. But I think this is, again, where, when you're in it, you don't always know how to explain your magic and your gold to others. And this is why it helps sometimes to have these bots, or to have these coaches, or to have consultants, or, these sessions where you can just kind of put everything on the table, brainstorm it, and kind of get yourself a little bit more out, and remind yourself that just because you know everything that's happening in your business, nobody has all that context. Outside people don't. So it's, how do you finagle your copy so that it hits them where the feels are, but also satisfies enough of their logical brain that they're like, okay, yes, that's that 8-ball shot again, right? You're lining it up. It's not the ball's fault if it doesn't go in the pocket. You lined it up wrong and you missed. Okay, doesn't mean that you need to also change what you're doing. It just means maybe you need to present it in a new way. I think that's also a very swampy area with all of this stuff. Like, it's also time. Like, you just may not have. Oh, I'm filtering my notifications are coming through. It's one of my calendar ones. Actually got a call at past. I've got a coffee Zoom with one of the lovely ladies that I helped do an AI offer and content build out for last year, because that was my first iteration of me helping individuals with this. I seemed to find my niche, or not my niche, but the people that were coming out of the woodwork as I started going through, back from 2024, when me, Christy, and Ryan were running these build your personal brand and have AI help you, support you with your content. The amount of people that came out of the woodwork that were in their 40s, 50s, 60s even, who had an entire career behind them, proof of concept, clients, things that they had done over and over and over again successfully, and there is no proof of any of it online. And so then coming online, one, it's quite overwhelming with the tech. A lot of people have no desires to start learning things at that age. Some do. It's incredible to see some of the 60, 70-year-old guys that are creating accounts on Instagram and talking to camera and doing all this shit and just going absolutely berserk with it. It's going nuts. I'm going to be that. I'm going to be that person. I'm going to be that silver fox at 60. Still spouting my thing. I don't know. I've always enjoyed the content creation process. So for me, I've always known that that's always going to be part of what I do. Sharing my story, building stuff, connecting with people, connecting others together. Like, even that, even finding now, being online for how long I've been online for. I mean, I started posting when I was 16, 17 for my modeling portfolio. I think my first photo, if you scroll all the way back down on my Instagram page, it's me in a little fairy outfit on set. I was shooting for like Halloween costumes. Anyway, not about me. Coming back to this experiencing all these human emotions and building online, like, can we just remind ourselves that we're human, and remind yourself and give yourself some grace? And that was where I was going. It was the things that were coming out of the woodwork, it was the 40, 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds, again, body of work. And where did my thread go? Give me a second. Let me have some tea. It was that. So we did the summer doing the 10-day challenge. So it was 10 days together. Every day we had a little task. And then within the 10 days, you learned to build, grow, and then create 30 days of content. Because we saw that there was a big want or desire for a lot of people to start batch creating their content so that they could put their marketing not to the side, but so that it wasn't taking up their entire lives. And a lot of people do enjoy batch creating, and especially with companies that have a lot more of the evergreen content that doesn't change depending on your date. It's like the foundation of everything, the principles, the FAQs in your business, the things that you always talk to your clients about. Those don't really go out of fashion. They don't have a date attached to them. So if you batch create those, it doesn't matter when they're released. It still fits the line of questioning. It still fits the line of storytelling, right? It doesn't have to be that, you mentioned that it was filmed on a Thursday or yesterday. It could have been filmed 3 months ago, 4 months ago, a year ago, and it still remains true for your business. Those types of content pieces are pillars in anybody's, foundations. Anyway, I then, after we'd wrapped up and all of us had separated, it was the following year, 2025, the next iteration of what I wanted to offer people, especially for LinkedIn and especially for that over 40, over 50 market, was I'd realized again, people come out of an entire career of helping people and they have not learned the skill of marketing themselves. And when you're sitting in it, you don't see the magic. You don't always see how cool what you do is. And this is where I think I've said before, I love when people geek out on what they do. I love when people show me the bits that they enjoy, because that's where the story is. That's actually where the sales copy is. Like, it's that excitement and that fuel and that showing that you are so good at doing what you're doing to others that they immediately trust you. And so I came up with this offer of, it was like an AI offer and 30 days worth of content. So I would help you. I'd interview you. We'd do like a Joe Rogan interview, ask you all these questions, and I'd go away, help put together your offer and help put together that initial 1, 2, 3 step funnel of how you can start inviting people into this, or how you can create a consulting offer. Usually a lot of these 40, 50, 60-year-olds, the easiest thing that they can create is a consulting offer, because people want to know what's in their brains. But whether they're creating a consulting offer for, a company that has 80 to 100 employees, or they're creating it for, the founder that is feeling overwhelmed and needing time management, it's very different. The spectrum can go like this. But the fact that these people have come to me with an absolute, stellar career of helping so many people, turning that into an offer and then creating the content around that allows them to just invite people in is a whole nother ball game. It's also, I realize not sometimes, but I realize where coaches would make a better ask for certain, like starting, and where I think a lot of people go wrong is they want to help the beginners, and then the beginners don't have any money, and then they don't have any money, and then they don't have full experience, and the beginners don't have any experience, so then the beginners don't trust the process, and the coach is trying to drag the beginner through a process that they don't fully know if it's actually going to work or not, and then everybody's getting frustrated and nobody knows what they're doing. And so it's like, maybe just start dealing with the clients that actually have had experience doing something first, so that you can trial and test and put something out that has a bit more legs to it, makes sense. Anyway, having that coffee with that lady this morning again, it'd be nice to catch up and see. I have a very interesting feeling that I said it to my husband last night, that something's going to happen. Yeah, I'll leave it at that for now. Keep that a little bit cryptic. But this whole thing with, or I guess the way that I've always gotten excited about viewing AI is that it allows you to build that sparring partner that helps you take you out of yourself, but not away from yourself. And, oh, you see that? And yeah, I don't know. I think this is where, again, it's important to find peers and to find coaches that have been through this stuff and that understand what goes through, because people will, it's amazing how again, the shitty voices are the loudest. But when you start to do this work and you start to find some of the right people and you trust that you're allowed to be a human being on this process, and the right people, if you build it that way, will also allow you to be a human on this process. Like, it's different if you come going, this is the only thing that I do, and this is the only thing that and this is all, and you put that performance on, and then you're stuck in that, and then you wonder why maybe you hit a brick wall. it's funny, like even as I go through all these topics, like in my brain, I have like 4, 5, 6, 7 different threads open, and I can pull from this one or I can weave it back into this one. And I understand as well, not everybody works like this, and not everybody operates the same way. And it was funny. So, something I will pull Shoshana Raven up on, which is hilarious, is that she said at one point, she said, I would never give you a strategy based on your birth chart, which is funny because this year's Obsessed, she's now turned around and said there are 12 archetypes within business. So again, as much as I also don't like to just define people by their charts, and I always say, and I preface, the chart doesn't do the work for you. But in terms of the closest damn blueprint or map that I have found is my sister's charts. And that's why I have brought them in with my one-on-one clients. And it was after working with a client for 18 months and we pulled the charts, the following week, she was set in what she needed to do. With her offer, with her content, with her tone of voice, with just the sheer audacity to go out and be fully her with no qualms and no shame. And again, that does not negate the fact that there will be shit that life throws at you. This doesn't mean you're suddenly bulletproof and immune. But what I love that the extension that my sister does for me when I have my charts with my clients is because I'm a manifesting generator. I enjoy having a lot of things on the go. I can compartmentalize having quite a few different things on the go. I feed off of and fuel off of quite a lot of different things. Not everybody operates like that. And so the way that I was also trying to give my clients their to-do lists and things to do, it was always, there's used to be quite a lot. There are a lot of moving pieces when you're building, right? I've talked about it before. You can have the now money and the future money, which means things are building all on different levels. As you build out your offer force field, same. I actually discussed this with a friend of mine as well. She'd mentioned about the beginner content and all this sort of stuff. And then I reminded myself that where the disconnect was, or where I was talking about that being the wrong information, is usually when you're starting at the beginning of your journey as a freelancer or somebody online and you're putting up your boundaries and you're setting those boundaries, those force field boundaries of like, this is my one-on-one time and this is where everything else gets placed outside of the ring, all the way down from the free lead magnet to the low ticket offer thing to the something in between to different pieces of the puzzle that people can test your services at, and each one leading into coming and working closer and closer with you in your bigger containers and your, actual value of the work that you do. Doesn't negate the fact that people can have the pieces, but where the disconnect seems to be is when you're setting your boundaries in place and you're wanting to raise your rates to the standard that you now know that you are valued at, and then starting to post beginner content. Usually the beginners that you're attracting are not prepared to pay the bigger prices because they don't fully see the vision yet, which is fine. But then it's almost like you have to jerry-rig the content to make sure that you're talking to the people that know that they value your services at that price, at those rates, and then almost work your way backwards when you have the time. But don't forget that what it is you're needing now versus what it is you're building out over time. And I love my friend for this. It was that analogy that she said about gardening as well. You've got 3, 4, 5 different plants going on in your garden. Just because you're working and tending towards this doesn't mean that the ones over here have been completely abandoned or left alone. Sometimes there's things that you have to do, and now you actually need to back off for a little bit while it fertilizes and grows and does its thing, that you can actually come over here and, play with something that's over here. But just tying back into the charts, what I love about what my sister does is once I've got the charts for my clients, is then she gives me a debrief of how my chart best supports them and how they also, well, that's pretty much it, how my chart best support them and how I can help give them things in a way that suits how they digest things and how they, where their motivations lie as well. Because again, come to me, I can give you a plan. I'm not the one that's got to go and execute it. You got to go do that. That's where initially the bots came in for the content. It was the same thing with the AI challenges. We'd have the stuff, we'd give people the strategy, they'd have the light bulb ideas, they'd get all excited, and then they'd go off and they don't know what to write. They don't know how to do it themselves. I'm not doing your work for you. I'm doing my work for me. I'll help you do your stuff. I'll brainstorm, I'll give you directions, we'll mull it out, and then off you go. Come back. I'm like the ring, I'm like the corner, the ring corner. Go fight around, come back in the break, let's, debrief, and then I'll push you back out so that you can go out swinging. My focus is having an issue at the moment. So, speaking of which, it's actually hit 35 minutes, and I do have this call, and I'm going to check the time. I was enjoying that conversation. Some of these might turn into little spin-offs of me explaining some of these concepts with my whiteboard like a crazy person, like I tried to do before. If you scroll all the way down from these videos, you can see less I started. So yeah, we'll see how these develop. But whole range of human emotion, guys. Humans, you're allowed to build. You're allowed to fuck up. You're allowed to win. You're allowed to succeed. You're allowed to fuck up and succeed. You're going to do and both, and it's never going to be a case of one and done. It's just not, and it would be boring if it was. I think this is the most annoying thing, and before I start a whole nother thread, I'm going to leave it there. As you see, I'm very passionate about these topics, and I spend a lot of time in these realms and looking at the common patterns of how people build and then burn out and then build and then burn out and then build and then throw it all away because they built the wrong thing, because they weren't listening to the voice inside at the beginning, which they knew they should have listened to. So they did the thing and they pushed through, and then they learned, and then they were like, oh, and now we got. So if any of these conversations can just help you get closer to just shutting out everybody else's opinions and going inside, go pull your birth chart, go pull your astro chart, go pull your human design chart, go throw it into AI and see what it says. The only thing I struggle with that is that it's the interpretation of it, and it's also the way that Sam pulls them together and the things that she actually pulls out. Like, she's been in this. Her mind blows my mind. And again, I will actually link her Business as Usual 2027 white paper below, because creatives, man, it's our time. You're allowed to be human, all right? You're allowed to have sad days. You're allowed to not want to talk to people, but also want to sell your stuff. You're allowed to be an extroverted introvert. You're allowed to want to be online and then disappear into the mountains for 10 days completely offline. Like, it's okay. It's okay. But build and grow and just